I'm Laura Roeder. Welcome to Shareworthy Strategic Blogging. If you're going to write, you might as well write something that will get shared. So that's what this video is all about. We've talked about planning out your editorial calendar, why you blog, what to blog about. Now we're going to put it at the micro level, zooming into your individual blog posts, looking at what makes a great blog post that's going to get shared over and over again on social media. So first of all, why are shares so important? Shares are like having a street team across the globe promoting your business for you for free. Sharing is how social media works without you becoming an automated marketing machine. So if you're here because you want to spend less time on social media, which I think all of us do, you need to get other people to share your stuff for you, because that's how you market your business without spending a single second of your own time. When other people share your posts, they are doing marketing for you for free with no time spent on your own, right? That's why it's so important to write posts that are going to get shared. You're gonna write the post anyway, why not make this free, huge marketing team working for you? And you'll never get big on social media if you're the only one sharing your stuff. You might have had this experience already. I think this is really common, where you start blogging and you sign up for social media accounts and you're putting out links to your articles, but no one else is linking to your articles, and that's when you see really, really slow growth in your accounts. You don't get your numbers up when other people aren't sharing your stuff. So this is something that we see all the time on social media. You know, it seems even funny to point out because it seems so mundane, but I just want to point out to you how huge it is. So right now, these are tweets from 3 different people that are all pointing to articles that I wrote. Okay, like again, no big deal. This is what social media is. Social media is people sharing articles. But all of these 3 people are linking to my website where I sell things for my business. And all of these posts are promoting my business to some degree, right? These posts aren't saying, oh, I'm having a big sale, buy everything right now. But what these posts are doing, like we talked about before, increasing that know, like, and trust factor so that people can move along the path to buy from me. They're establishing me as an expert, whatever they're doing. And even if they weren't doing any of those things, they're still sending traffic back to my website. The fact that people are doing this for me for free, I haven't asked them to do this, is absolutely incredible. It's really powerful for your business. So that's what I want you to achieve as well, that you are regularly seeing other people sharing your stuff. So let's talk about how to do that. That's the whole point of this video. You can learn how to make that happen for you. So there are 3 elements to a share-worthy blog post. There's the headline, the content, and the social integration. So we'll go more in depth on all those things. Something that's always funny to me is that people will share headlines even when they haven't read the article. Again, as part of this process, I want you to pay attention to your own behavior on social media. I find myself doing this sometimes. I will see something on Twitter or Facebook that has a really great headline, and I know my audience is super interested in that topic, and I'll find myself sharing it even before I've read the article because it just sounds like a really good article. And even on Twitter the other day, someone sent me a message saying, I always share your stuff because it's really good, but I actually read this one and it was really, really good. And he had already sent a tweet out with an article that he totally admitted he hadn't read. So it just shows you the power of headlines. Even if you had terrible blog posts, you could probably have great headlines and still get some shares on social media. So let's dive more into the headline. Becoming a master headline writer is one of the smartest ways to spend your time in your business. Because headlines, of course, we're talking about them in the context of blog posts, but they apply to everything that you write. I mean, writing a great headline is just a microcosm of being a great copywriter. Being a great copywriter is being a great communicator, a great marketing person, a great salesperson. If you can write amazing headlines, or just better headlines than you're writing now, it will make your business more money. I can promise you that. This is a great way to spend your time. One of the best ways to get better at writing headlines is to write a lot of them for every post. So at our company, we write 20 headlines for every post that we write. We have 20 headline options. Now, some of those options are better than others, right? Sometimes you're just kind of playing around, trying to come up with the best thing. But we were inspired to do that because we saw a slide presentation that I'll link below this video to one of the really, really big content sites that gets shared constantly. And they said that was their process, that they're just insane about writing headlines. So I thought, we should do that too. So I would really suggest that you do that too, because you're going to come up with a great headline and you're going to find yourself really stretching and really, really getting creative. Notice what makes you click. And you'll probably notice that curiosity is the killer in headline writing. What really makes us click the most are those things where we're like, what are they talking about? What are they referring to? I need to know what these 3 things are that they're talking about. Curiosity works so, so well. And look at the sites that get shared over and over and over again on Facebook. And yes, they are usually time wasters, and model their headlines. So I am talking about celebrity gossip sites. I'm talking about silly video sites. Those sites have made an art and science of writing great headlines. Pay attention to what they do. And often when we're coming up with our 20 variations, we'll actually model headlines from those sites. So you might read a headline that says, the 6 stupidest ways of all time to tie your shoes. And then you think, okay, how can I apply that framework to the article that I just wrote? Can I say that something number, something adjective, ways to achieve this outcome that I talked about in the post? So look at all the different things they do, and then you can make that kind of your headline workshop that you're playing with. Digging into the content, the actual content of your blog post, how to have a really great share-worthy blog post. So you want it to be long enough to sufficiently cover your topic, and more in depth is generally better. There have been studies that have shown that longer posts tend to get shared more, but this is it depends on the context, it depends on the situation. There are posts out there with 3 sentences that people have been like, this is so brilliant, this had such a big impact on me. I've shared that over and over again. But in general, I would encourage you to pick a topic and just ask yourself, okay, have I covered all the frequently asked questions? That's something that I love to do when I write a post. Start with, what are all the questions that someone asks about my topic? And by the way, you can Google to find out those questions if you don't know. And then, have I answered all of those questions that someone might have? That's a really easy framework to use to make sure that your post is in depth enough. Your post also, if it evokes a strong emotion like awe or anger, those are much more likely to get shared. Now, we have to put this in the context of our business and the context of our reputation. I don't like to write posts that make people really angry. It's just not really my style. And I haven't figured out how to make someone in awe on a business blog, but maybe I'm just not a good enough writer. But if you can drum up those really strong emotions, those are more likely to get shared. Obviously, stuff that's useful, stuff that's interesting gets shared. And again, I have some resources below this video where you can read through some really, really cool studies where people have dug into a lot of data about what gets shared online. So this is just some little bits of summary from those findings in case you don't feel like reading through a 60-page study. And also think about, does your post make the reader look better by sharing it? I think this is something that we don't consider a lot, but looking at your own behavior when you share something, it's because you have some sort of affinity or association with what you're sharing. Because we're doing all this in public, right? We're not just keeping our own notes of the articles that we like. I'm choosing to share this with other people. Other people are seeing it. So we don't really like to admit these kinds of things about ourselves, but we share things because we want to be the type of person that would share something like that. We want to be the type of person who is useful or who's clever or who's interesting, and we think that the posts that we share make us look that way. Now, I know that you don't sit down and do this consciously. You're not like, how can I look really smart today? I better find a really smart article to share. But those are those little micro decisions that are going on when we choose what we post on social media. So think about that. How would it make someone feel to share this post? How would it make someone look to their audience to share this post? Visuals are another really important piece of your content for making it share-worthy. Visuals keep people engaged and they give your readers more pieces to share. So, there's all different types of social networks now growing all the time. Pinterest obviously is entirely visually driven. If there's not a picture on your post, they can't share it on Pinterest. Illustrate your point with visuals as much as possible. So make graphics of key quotes from the article. You might want to make a graphic of the headline. You might want to make a graphic that spells out the main idea, and show examples whenever you can. If you are talking about spaghetti, show a plate of spaghetti. If you are talking about headlines, put in sample headlines, put in screenshots of sample headlines. Always show as much as you can exactly what you're talking about in your post. Another piece to consider for your content is great pull quotes. So here's what I mean by a pull quote. Here's a little example from one of my articles. On building a biz, be willing to abandon what doesn't work and move on. LKR, which is my Twitter handle. So pull quotes should be a nugget of wisdom or inspiration that makes sense out of context. So it basically needs to be something that people can pass along that, again, makes sense without having read the entire article. So pull quotes give people an easy nugget to share on social media. So you can highlight them using stylized text. You might want to make a graphic of the pull quote that people can share. You might want to make one of these little click to tweet things like I'm showing in the example, but it doesn't have to be a click to tweet. It's just something to think about while you're writing. The more of these little nuggets that you can have in your writing, people will often copy and paste those on their own when they're sharing something. So if you make it really easy by putting the short little nugget that's a word of wisdom, bolding it, making it bigger in your article, that encourages people to share because they have a really easy thing that they can grab and share that conveys a great idea from your article. So the final piece of having really awesome share-worthy posts is social integration. So social sharing buttons are a must. This is blogging 101. You need those little buttons on the top or the bottom or the side of your post to let people click a button really easy and share it. Basic, but super, super important. And as far as the tool, check out the resources below this video to see our recommended tool. This changes all the time. That's why I don't even want to say it in the video. I want to have it in a link so that we can always update it to the best thing. And don't just put sharing buttons, but customize your sharing messages to link back to your own account on that platform whenever possible. So let me show you what I'm saying there. The way it's worded is a little confusing. So here's an example from my blog. So you can see over here on the left-hand side, that's where I have my sharing buttons where you can click really super simple, fast, and easy, and you can share this post to social media. But the other thing that I want you to notice is that on the Twitter button, it doesn't just say the headline and then the link. It has at the end here, via LKR, right? So I'm going a step beyond where I'm not just sharing a link back to my website, but they would also be sharing a link to my social media profile on that network. So obviously this will help me not only drive traffic back to the blog post, but it will help me get more followers on Twitter as well. So you can do this on some of the networks and not on others, but whenever you can link back to your name or your profile on that network within that status update, that's always, always smart to do. Emailing for shares. So you know the phrase dialing for dollars? Like when you're making sales calls, you're dialing for dollars. Instead of dialing for dollars, we're emailing for shares. So if you mention a person or a company, let them know that they have shown up in your blog. They are very, very, very likely to share it. And this is actually a whole strategy on its own that you might want to employ for growing your blog and growing traffic to your blog and your social media accounts. A lot of people like to do list posts or roundup posts and stuff like that, just so that they have a bunch of people to link to. So if you do a post that's like the 5 most influential mitten companies in Canada, and you email those mitten companies, they are probably going to link to that post on their social media accounts. Often, even if they're a big company, especially if it's specific like that, right? If you're like, who makes the best snow pants for snowboarding when it's sort of cold out, but it's not that cold out? And you're like, these guys make the best pants. Email that company and let them know, hey, I love your snowboard pants, just wrote a great review. That's exactly what companies are looking for to share on their social media accounts. They're looking for that type of content. So that's a way that you can get huge exposure, huge traffic into your blog. You also might want to send tweets to others who might enjoy the article, but it must be targeted. So you can do this on Twitter, you can do this on Facebook. Again, you'll notice that all the advice I'm giving in Social Brilliant is really social network agnostic, because the whole idea of Social Brilliant is that you have these big ideas that apply on any social network. People get way too caught up on what do I do on this platform and what do I do on that platform. They have their differences in how they execute, but the strategy fundamentally is all the same. So this is an idea that you can do on any platform. If there's someone that you know really likes that type of blog post, send them a message. Tell them, hey, I know that you are really into mitten posts. I see that you've been blogging about mittens a lot lately. I wrote this mitten post. I thought you'd enjoy it. You have to be careful with the strategy. It has to be genuine. Like, they have to really love mitten posts, and you have to really think that they're going to love your mitten post. If you just blanket messages to thousands of people who may or may not have any interest, then that is called spamming, and they're probably not going to see you in the highest favor. But I have used this before when I genuinely thought that someone would enjoy a post that I wrote, and I thought they'd want to check it out. And they've clicked on it. They've often shared it with their audience because they did like it. So I want to touch on outsourcing this process. This is something really, really important to start thinking about in your social media strategy, right? If you're going to employ a social media marketing strategy in your business, you might not be doing it all on your own. So this is something that we're going to keep touching on throughout these Social Brilliant videos. How can you outsource? What can you outsource, and what do you need to do yourself? And what is really easy to pass off to someone else? So of the whole blogging realm, here's the stuff that's really easy and cheap to outsource. Adding graphics to your articles. So remember I said showing examples? It can be really time consuming to dig through stock image libraries or Creative Commons libraries that you're allowed to use and find graphics to add to your articles. So anyone who has a brain and can read the word spaghetti and know that it would make sense to put a picture of spaghetti there, they can go into your articles and really make them a lot more engaging, make sense more with the pictures, and more compelling to share by adding in graphics and pictures to articles that you've already written. This can also apply to doing little pull quotes. They can read through your articles, see what would be a great little pull quote, or hopefully you've pulled that for them already because you were doing that while you were writing the article. Make it even easier for them, and they can make it into a nice little picture that you can put in the post, that can be shared on Pinterest, etc. Loading your post into your actual blog. This is another really easy, cheap thing to outsource. There's lots of people out there that know how to take a Word doc or a Google doc and make it into a live blog post. You do not need to spend your time doing that yourself. And finally, filling in pre-populated social messages. So this goes back to what we were just talking about, where you had those social sharing buttons on the left-hand side and you want to customize them, right? You want to make sure to put your Twitter handle at the end, or maybe you want to have a custom message for that blog post. You can write out those messages or say what your customization needs to be, and then they can go in and make sure that it matches all the different social networks. So that's another really easy thing to outsource. So let's have a wrap up here about blogging. If you're going to spend your time writing, might as well make it count. You're going to spend time and effort writing those blog posts. Write posts that people are going to share, that are going to make a difference for your business. If you do nothing else, please learn to write great headlines. This is a profitable skill that will serve you in so many areas of your business. Again, resources for that below this video. And finally, encourage sharing with excellent posts. So quality over quantity that are just begging to be shared. So that wraps up the blogging portion. In the next video, we're going to move on to the next big pillar of your social media strategy, which is writing amazing, share-worthy social media status updates. So I'll see you there.